Hello, you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Today we're going to discuss chapter 2 of The New Rules of Marriage by Terrence Real. He's coming out with his next book early next year called Us. And I am taking many of his courses for therapists as I learn how to work with couples. Working with couples is so much better than working with individuals because individuals always just tell you their side of the story, and with couples you can see the interaction, and it is in our intimate sexual relationships that we can work out our deepest wounds and where we get the most reactive. So today chapter 2 is called The Crunch and Why You're Still in It. So I'm going to summarize for you. What is the crunch? The crunch is the gap between something that you want and you're not getting. It's when your needs aren't being met. You feel hurt or ignored or neglected or unloved, and you get reactive, right? And so when you're feeling in the crunch, the adult response is to calm yourself and seek reconnection or take a time out, and we'll get to all that later. In this chapter, he's describing the 5 losing strategies when you're in the crunch, or what I call when you're feeling reactive. These 5 strategies are needing to be right, controlling your partner, unbridled self-expression, retaliation, and withdrawal. So you are basically seduced away from what you really want into other goals that seem perfectly understandable at the moment. All right, so the first losing strategy is needing to be right. All right. And when that happens, people forget the goal of being relational and they become really invested in being right. So it's almost like a fog comes over them. By the way, the functional adult self, which is me right now, is using my prefrontal cortex. And so I'm engaged in my heart and I'm present with you. When I or you or anyone is coming from this wounded place, reactive place, when the wounded child gets triggered and we're in our adaptive child mode, this is shut off and we're coming from this limbic area of our brain. And it's a practice to not let that overtake us. And it can be done. And that's what good therapists will do for you. But let's go on. So instead of being in a battle for the relationship, it is a constant war about who is right and who is wrong. The only sensible answer to the question, who's right and who's wrong, is, who cares? Grown-ups understand that being right is not the real point. Finding a solution is. Now, another form of being right is like righteous indignation. This is always toxic in your relationship because in righteous indignation, you're looking down at your partner. You're like really judging them, looking down on them. The second losing strategy is controlling your partner. And that's you're saying, I could be happy if only you would. You know, if you really loved me, you would. Honey, what you need to do is. And control is so compelling because you think that you could just change this person, your life would be better. But the real adult is trying to change themselves and not their partner. And there are ways of expressing what you like and what you want rather than telling someone, another adult, what they have to do. Now, your attempts at control can be either direct or indirect. You can either tell them what to do or you can be indirect, which is called manipulation. And he says that men tend to be more directed control, whereas women tend to be more indirect. No one likes to be controlled. So the person you're trying to control can acquiesce, but they will be angry and resentful. So there's always a payback. Oppressing someone may lead to compliance, but it will never engender health or love. So it's a losing strategy. The third losing strategy is unbridled self-expression. You're upset with your partner, your feelings are hurt, and you're just going to let them have it. You're going to let them know exactly what they've done. When you're hurt or angry, however, spewing is not authentic. It's called being a brat. Let me reassure you, you will not die if you don't express yourself whenever a thought pops into your mind. Venting is not an inalienable right. You can vent or you can move toward a solution. Now, there are also some therapies that let people just vent and vent, like you're going to therapy forever, and there's supposed to be some benefit to that. However, there really is no benefit to venting. Therapy, no less than feminism or codependency programs, has often encouraged personal empowerment, and devil takes the hindmost. Research shows that two partners who each engage solely in individual therapy in order to deal with a marital issue have an extremely high rate of divorce. All right, the fourth losing strategy is retaliation. Oh, I'm going to let you have it. I am going to let you have it. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one. So the clinical term for indirect revenge is passive aggression. But passive aggression can also be someone who's walled off. They can be permanently passive aggressive in their relationship. So I want to read a little bit about the passive aggressive, because that can come out when the person is triggered as a losing strategy. And it can also be the way that someone usually is in the relationship. Passive aggression is the covert expression of anger through withholding. In direct retaliation, you say or do something nasty. In indirect retaliation, you don't say or do something you should. The first is mean. The second is mean-spirited. Here's the deal on retaliation. Almost all perpetrators see themselves as victims. Even batterers, you would think, in the moments that they lashed out, pumped up, that they feel pumped up, powerful, and dominant. But anyone who works with them will tell you that universally when they strike, they feel inside that they're in the wronged party, that their partner has betrayed them, abandoned them, or assaulted them. Even O.J. Simpson declared himself a battered husband. I believe that offending from the victim position accounts for 90% of the world's violence. Whether the form it takes is a cold silence or an unkind word between two partners, or the disenfranchised, angry criminal who feels entitled to violate our civil code, or violence between two fractious countries. Violence at all levels is fueled by the righteous anger of the victim. And cold silence is an anger too. So that's what I wanted to point out. Humiliating, ridiculing, telling your partner what he should or should not do. These are all aspects of verbal abuse, and they have no place whatsoever in a healthy relationship. The fifth losing strategy is withdrawal. It can be small or large. It can be as shocking as someone stalking out of a marriage, or as gradual as a slow decline in the frequency of lovemaking. When withdrawal is meant to be punishing, it overlaps with passive-aggressive retaliation. But withdrawal can also be motivated by a distaste for retaliation. So someone doesn't want to retaliate, they'll withdraw because they have a general fear of conflict, or a mistrust of closeness, or a reluctance to be vulnerable, perhaps a sense of futility, or just plain fatigue. These are losing strategies. You're withdrawing. You really want closeness, but you're withdrawing. You don't want conflict. You're afraid of closeness. You're reluctant to be vulnerable. And that is if you ever see an angry woman, you probably have a man who's constantly withdrawing. He's afraid to talk about anything. He's just constantly withdrawing because he's too civil for conflict. He's afraid of conflict. He's afraid of discussing anything. And then she's constantly angry. By the way, you guys can heal all this so easily with the inner child work. That's what's so great about Terry Real's work. So, but we're just right now going through the losing strategy so you can kind of see your own, see where you can pick up yours. You can withdraw from the entire relationship, where you just start leading separate lives. Or you can withdraw from specific aspects of the relationship, where you just stop sharing your feelings, or you stop sharing yourself physically, or you just don't discuss specific issues that you think are too difficult to handle because you think your partner's just going to get upset with you, or, you won't get anywhere. So there's a difference between withdrawal. So instead of withdrawing, you can accept something. Like, not everything in a relationship is going to be the way you want. So if you get to a point of acquiescence, you're going to be resentful. However, if you get to a point of like, this is an aspect of the relationship that isn't the way I want, however, it's something I can live with, that's actual acceptance, and that's a choice. And another thing you can do when you want to withdraw is to do responsible distance taking, where you're going to like take a short time out, or just say, hey, I need to take a little break here, but I'll come back to discuss this. So there's a difference between withdrawal and responsible distance taking. It is important to have distance in a relationship. Unadulterated closeness is called psychotic fusion. Relationships are an endless negotiation between closeness and distance. However, withdrawal is irresponsible distance taking. Responsible distance taking is neither unilateral nor provocative. So also be careful that you don't slip into acquiescence. Like, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm just going to acquiesce. Again, that is an acceptance. Okay, so that was on withdrawal. Now in the practice section of this chapter, he gives an example of a couple that he had at a retreat. And he asks us to find their losing strategies. And it was about Bill had to be right and in control. Laura tried to be moderate until it got too much for her. Then she went into withdrawal and retaliation. And then there's a self-assessment. Think about an argument you had with your partner. Go line by line and see what your losing strategies are. I myself would go into, probably, I've done any of these. I haven't been in a relationship in so long that I really don't know anymore what I do. I don't do control or unbridled self-expression. I think I do needing to be right and withdrawal, but probably more withdrawal. I'm not sure, because he always says, look at your current intimate sexual relationship, and I haven't had one in 9 years. So, I don't even know what mine would be now, but perhaps you can see yours. Again, the book is Terry Real's The New Rules of Marriage. You can also go to his website to take the online courses. And thank you so much for watching my video, and happy Thanksgiving to you.